Alright, in this video we're going to go through some fundamental basics of using 3D features in Photoshop. What I've done here is I wrote the word cafe using my text tool. So I created a text box and wrote the word. Now I want to use my move tool here. And with the move tool selected, I'm going to go up to the very top of your screen where your menu is and select where it says 3D. From there, I'm going to go down to this selection that says New 3D Extrusion from Selected Layer. An extrusion basically is something that's kind of coming out at you. It's coming out off the screen, and that's at least the effect that it's going to create when we do this. You'll notice that when we get into this 3D panel or this 3D view of Photoshop, you'll start to see some different things that you may not have seen before. On the top here, you'll see some tools that you can use, and right now we're going to concentrate on using this particular tool, which is the rotate tool. This is going to allow you to rotate this 3D object. So what you'll notice is if I take that tool and I drag down, I can see this text from the top, and I can actually see that it does have a kind of a three-dimensional view to it. If I tip it up, I can see it kind of like from a bottom view. If I go left and right, it'll kind of turn it to the left and to the right. So this is the effect that we're trying to look at. So let's take a look at, if I go back to my layers, I actually have this image of this cafe, and I want to place this text that we just created here. I want to place it on one of those walls so that it looks like it's coming off of the wall as if it was a sign or something like that. So let's go ahead and use that rotate tool, making sure that we're in the 3D mode. We're going to use that rotate tool, and what you'll notice is that there's a blue line that comes out, and that indicates where the direction of this face of this text is coming out towards. For example, it's coming out right at me right now. The red line that you might see faintly in the background here, if I rotate this you might see it a little better. That red line indicates where the text is actually sitting. So what I want to do is I want to try to align this with this back wall here so that it looks like it's coming off of that back wall. The way I do that is by aligning this red line to one of those horizontal lines on that wall. And I know that this text is coming out this way because that's where all these other perspective lines are coming out on my image and my picture here. So I want that blue line to come out this way towards the right, and I want to align this red line with the horizontal lines that are on that wall. So by using my rotate tool, I'm going to just kind of rotate that a little bit until I kind of get as close as I can to what looks like maybe that's where it should go. So you'll notice the grid has a bunch of lines, and maybe you'll pick one of the lines on the grid to kind of line up with one of those lines on that wall. And once you kind of get the sense that it's sort of close, then you want to pay attention to this perspective blue line that's coming out at us also, because we don't want it to be tipped too far up. We want it to also have the sense like it's coming at us in the right angle from this direction as well. So once we have it close to what we want it to look like, we can go ahead and switch to this other tool up here that looks like a little cross. That's going to allow us to move this up on the screen and to the left so that it we can place it on that wall now. And now when I do that, I notice that it's not quite lined up to this horizontal part of the wall here. It's kind of tilted a little bit. So I want that red line to line up to the wall as best as I can. So let's go back to my rotate tool, and I'm going to tweak that a little bit and kind of spin it a little bit more and try to line it up as best as I can here so that it looks like it's actually coming off of that wall. If I want those grid lines to go away, I can press the H on my keyboard, and that'll give me a better sense of what that looks like. So that doesn't look too bad. If I want those grids to come back so that they can help me to position my text here, I can press the V for Valentine on my keyboard. That'll bring that back. So another thing that I do want to adjust is that the depth of this text looks like it's about 2 or 3 feet, and it's way too long, way too deep, and I don't want that. So now I'm going to be able to look at this Right now we're in what's called the current view, which is it's like the camera view. So you'll notice when I use these tools, everything moves, including those lines, including that grid. But if I go down here to this particular selection, now that's going to actually affect only the text. So, or only the object that we just created here, in other words. So if I select that, I want to go up to the top here where it says properties in the properties panel. I want to select the second icon. And what I want to adjust is the depth of the extrusion. So if I slide this to the left or to the right, you'll notice that the depth of that extrusion can get smaller or bigger depending on what I want. And I can actually put in a number right here. So for example, if I want it to be 10 deep, then I can actually get exactly what I want. So let's hit H. And I notice that that's kind of like off to the top here. And it doesn't quite look like it's on the wall. It looks like it's coming up to the ceiling. So I'm going to hit V on my keyboard again. And I'm going to use my cross, that little cross, which allows me to move this down and up a little bit. And I'll put it more on the wall so that it looks like it belongs there a little better. So that looks close to what I want. Hit H. That's a little better. In the next video, we'll look at some other things that we can turn into 3D objects.